Good afternoon. My name is Ray Benton, and I have the honor of welcoming you on behalf of the Melody and all the Braden family. But before we get started with the event, I'd like to offer a few thanks. First to the SCTA for donating to this celebration of Vic's meaningful and productive life. And also like to thank Pam Austin. She really pulled this whole event together, and she deserves a big hand. And how about a big hand for each of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to honor a very, very special man. I mentioned that this is a celebration, and we really mean it. Vic would certainly want us to enjoy ourselves today. So let's have some fun. I know we're going to laugh. I'm not sure we're going to learn today, but let's have some laughs. Because Vic wanted us to be happy. He wanted us to laugh. He wanted us to improve and to learn. He was a tireless researcher for the truth in everything he touched. He searched for knowledge, he digested it, and then he quickly shared it with us. Vic's impact was enormous, and today you'll hear from friends and colleagues who benefited from his wisdom and generosity. Where is Brandon? Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Can we let us bow our heads in prayer, please? Dear Lord, we acknowledge your presence here, and we come before your throne this afternoon as friends and family of Vic Braden. We are here because we love him, and we miss him, and we want to cherish our memories of him. We want to honor his life and support one another as we grieve his passing. A passing from life here with us to everlasting life there with you. God, thank you for Vic. You formed him, you knew him, and you walked with him through his 85 years. Vic touched so many in his life. He made us laugh. And his laugh and his encouragement helped us to enjoy our lives so much more here on earth. I want to personally thank you, Lord, for Vic. When I first started playing tennis after my accident, most people felt it could not be done, but not Vic. He was one of my biggest supporters and encouragers from the very beginning. I also want to thank you for Melody and her partnership with Vic, and her love and comfort to him throughout their marriage, and especially in his last years. Your scriptures tells us that the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. Thank you, God, and thank you that you are a God of mercy who promises to comfort us, especially when we lose our loved ones. And so, in these moments now, and in the weeks and months ahead, please bring comfort and mercy to us, to Melody and to their children, as we remember Vic and share fondly all that he was to us. In the holy name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen.
Tracy Austin, and I want to welcome everyone to the Jack Kramer Tennis Club for Vic's Memorial. I'm very honored to be speaking about Vic today, especially at a place that I think was very important in Vic's life. His longtime friend Jack Kramer had a dream, and that was to start a tennis club. And he put Vic in charge of finding the place, making sure that it was built, and of course, helping to create the inclusive atmosphere and making it fun for everyone at the club. Vic was the head pro here at the Kramer Club for 7 years and made an incredible impact on everyone he came in contact with. So many that are in the audience today took their lessons and clinics from Vic, right over there on court 11. About that. And of course, for the older kids, I heard that there were so many bus rides to tournaments, to play other clubs, even to basketball games, because apparently Vic loved his basketball as well. But those bus rides are historic. Vic and Jack also made the Kramer Club a hub for the tour's best players at the time. They would come here to practice, to knock around, hit up some tennis balls when they were in town. It wasn't unusual to see the likes of Rod Laver, Ken Rosewall, Tony Trabert, even Billie Jean King playing tennis on these courts. In fact, Rod Laver met his wife Mary here at the Kramer Club. But I think the biggest impression that was made on me was up on court 8 when former Wimbledon champion May Sutton Bundy came. She was in her 60s and she came with her full-length mink coat to go out and hit some tennis balls. Now that is called making an impression. Jack and Vic made the Kramer Club a hotbed for tennis in Southern California, and that was always their dream. Vic was in his element when he had loads of kids on the court, hitting tennis balls, having fun, enjoying themselves, and of course, while he was dispensing his advice. Of course, we all remember the Vic-isms. Be ready, or you're gonna get that fuzz sandwich. If you keep playing this well, you'll be famous by Friday. And of course, encouraging those that said that tennis was too difficult, he said, if you can take an ice cream cone and make it to your mouth, you probably can become a tennis player. And for those of you who hit your forehand, your odds are going down extremely. But maybe my favorite was those low-cal donuts. I've eaten way too many of those low-cal donuts. Vic loved to say that. Over the years, I would see Vic 2 or 3 times a year, whether it was here in LA or on the road. We would have long conversations about a huge passion of his, and that was brain typing of tennis players. He'd say, you know, Tracy, that champion thinks he's an introvert. I know he's an extrovert. I don't know what he's thinking. He loved to analyze everybody, whether it was Roger or whether it was Serena. It was long hours of conversation with Vic. And actually, I saw Vic 2 times in the last 5 years at the Australian Open. Craig Tiley, who was the tournament director down there, brought Vic down under to teach the juniors tennis and also to have a seminar for the coaches, because we all know that Vic was so good at that. Vic was well respected and famous around the world. Everyone, and I mean everyone, that came into contact with Vic loved him and of course learned something about tennis along the way. Vic spent his entire life trying to spread the word about our great game with his humor, enthusiasm, knowledge, and of course his charismatic personality. I don't think I have met a man with more energy, and I don't think I ever saw Vic without his camera in tow. Melody, there must be rooms full of films and pictures. When I think of Vic, I think of a kind, generous, warm, and charismatic man, and was so funny and had such a huge impact on so many lives, including my whole family. Vic used to joke that actually we won a mixed doubles title together, because when my mom was pregnant with me, Jeannie, my mom, and Vic won a title. For those of us who had Vic as a coach, I think we were all very lucky because he made tennis such a joyful experience. I think Vic meant the world to all of us that were here. He was such a special man, and I will miss Vic dearly. I feel that for all of us, we're very fortunate to have such beautiful memories of Vic, and of course, he leaves an incredible legacy. God bless Vic, and rest in peace. My name is Kory Braden-Hittelman.
Hittelman, and I'm Vic's daughter. I want to thank Pam Austin, Bob Schaefer, Bruce Osterman, the Southern California Tennis Association, and all the wonderful volunteers from the Kramer Club for putting together such a lovely memorial for my father. I've come full circle today, as the Kramer Club is a place where my sister Kory Braden and I grew up and had our happiest childhood memories. Kelly passed away 12 years ago, but I know with certainty that she would be so pleased that we were back here at the Kramer Club to remember our dad. The Kramer Club was established in 1962 when my sister was 3. I was born a year after the club opened. We lived just a street behind the club at 9 Vista Real Drive. I recall we had a pretty idyllic childhood, and in speaking with so many old friends from the Kramer Club, our old neighborhood, and Chadwick in the past several weeks, it seems to be the consensus that it was indeed pretty magical. My dad was certainly a lot of fun in those days, and I have early memories of him pushing us around while we sat in the tennis ball cart, or Kelly and I sitting in his lap without a seatbelt in the empty Kramer Club parking lot, learning to drive in his VW Bug. Kelly and I would get to steer, while my dad pressed the accelerator that we were far too little to reach. I vividly remember the day that we put on our ski jackets early in the morning to run up to the club to see ice completely covering the tennis court, and brainstorming how we could turn it into an ice rink. We were surrounded by our extended Kramer Club families, and there was always something fun and exciting going on. My dad would take a group of kids every summer on a tennis tour where they would play against kids at other clubs. I was too little to go, but Kelly was fortunate enough to join them one summer, and it was an experience she would always remember fondly. Upon their return, they would have a big slideshow in the club with all the kids and their families, and make your own Sunday bar. I remember thinking it would be great to be old enough to join them. On rainy days, I remember Jean Austin, one of the sweetest women in the world, letting Tracy and I play on the floor of the pro shop with her brother's Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. On the 4th of July, the shallow end of the pool would be filled with pennies, sometimes even nickels, and we would get to dive for the hidden treasures. And of course, the Saturday morning tennis clinics were a big part of the fun. Kelly and I had the most amazing kids' birthday parties in the yard at our house, as my dad clearly recruited all the tennis juniors to help out. Mary Lay, Tim Ott, Dusty Rhodes, Wendy Appleby, Pam Austin, and numerous others were always there to make a standard kids' birthday party into something special, with creative games involving balloons, straws, and of course, for some reason, donuts. There was always so much laughter, joy, and fun involved when my dad and the Kramer Club kids were around. On a more serious note, my dad did teach Kelly and me extremely important lessons during this time. We were taught from a very young age about economic and racial inequity, and he made sure we understood about the historic contributions of such men as Martin Luther King, John Kennedy, and Cesar Chavez. My sister and I learned great lessons as well on the court at the Kramer Club during the Saturday morning classes, especially about sportsmanship and manners. Aside from murdering someone, we learned quickly that throwing one's racket was the worst crime one could commit. We learned that there was great dignity in losing gracefully, and that it was important to take the high road when our opponents were less than gracious. I also recall certain times with my dad that were nothing short of extraordinary. He took Kelly and I on our first trip to Disneyland and made it all the more fun as he suspended his scientific mind and disbelief for the day. I specifically remember visiting the Hall of Presidents and seeing Abraham Lincoln live and in person. My dad agreed with me when I told him I could not imagine a more wonderful job than being president and getting to live in Disneyland. My dad used creativity, fun, and laughter to teach us to learn to ride our bikes, learn to tell time, and explain how the vending machines at the club knew how much change to give back. His joy in learning and teaching was infectious. I'm grateful for those times, and more importantly, the values he instilled in me that will always be a part of who I am.
Hi, I'm Mike Kramer. I'm the fourth son of Jack and Gloria Kramer.
I'm Ron Kramer, the fifth son of Jack and Gloria Kramer, and as kids growing up here at the Jack Kramer Club, we used to hang out here at the snack bar and help ourselves to the soda machine, where we invented a drink called the Suicide, where we would hit every single flavor all the way across the soda machine. One of the funny stories growing up here is if we weren't playing tennis, we were swimming in the pool, and one day I was doing a cutaway off the high dive, which I don't see it over there anymore, or I think there was a high dive here at the time, but I slipped off and fell and hit my chin and went to the bottom of the pool, and Vic came out of the pro shop at the time and dove in and pulled me up from the bottom. Then I went to the hospital and had 6 stitches in my chin.
Yeah, I was 8 years old when Vic and my dad built the tennis club here in Rolling Hills. And my first memory of Vic and my first time on a tennis court was here at the club. And Vic took me out to a tennis court and wanted to find out what my ability was. And obviously, what wasn't much. I'd never been on a tennis court before. And Vic started feeding me tennis balls, and I was pretty comfortable hitting forehands. And then he fed one to my left side and said, in his Midwest drawl, I think that backhand is going to need a little work. And from that time forward, I did nothing but work on my backhand and then ended up having a fairly decent one. I'll always be indebted to Vic and never forget him for the opportunity he gave me. In the late 70s, he had a chain of tennis colleges over in Europe. And so I spent, along with my older brother Dave, a couple of years teaching Germans how to hit tennis balls. I'll always remember you for that, Vic, and always appreciate you.
I have another little story about Vic. I have a son who played high school tennis, Brandon, and he needed some work, so Vic had us down to the tennis college at Kodo, and Brandon got to spend well, actually, we used to drive down there a couple times a week for a year while he was in high school, and Brandon became a better player, and then went on to Cal Poly Pomona to play tennis. And Vic was great with Brandon, helping him be a better player.
My name's David Kramer, and I'm the oldest of the 5 perfect Kramer boys, and Mom and Dad approved of that saying, although it was finished with an almost. You've seen Michael and Ron, who, according to John and Bob, would say they put an end to acting with their participation, but that's okay too. I just want to say that Vic Braden showed up at our little house on Glenroy Place in the middle 1950s, and our front door wasn't far from the curb. And as we heard Tracy and Kory say, Vic was a man with purpose, and he was on a mission. I was probably 10 years old, and I had a vision that this man was going to be a big part of my future, because my father respected and trusted and loved Vic Braden, to the extent that he took my mom's dream lot in Bel Air, sold it, to build this wonderful Jack Kramer Club, whose legacy here goes on and on and on with all the families and the members that continue to fulfill its purpose to this day. Vic loved basketball, as Tracy pointed out, and he coached the Chadwick varsity one year. Unfortunately, they played the Harvard varsity, and we won at a Christmas tournament. So I'm 1-0 with Vic on the basketball court. Vic was undefeated with the world, as we see here today with this lovely, lovely gathering that we're all so much enjoying. The first family of the Kramer Club, Mr. and Mrs. Austin and the children. Goes without saying that Vic Braden surrounded himself with people who were attracted to him in his enthusiasm and his love for the sport, but more important, his love for people. Vic shared what he learned all through his life, starting from that time in Kalamazoo when he stole the tennis balls and made an arrangement with the coach that he would learn tennis. And boy, did he learn tennis, and did he learn sport, and did he learn loyalty, and did he learn research and development, from which we're all continuing to enjoy those benefits. Nobody more than me could be grateful to Vic Braden. And when you have gratitude for someone or something, somehow the grace just keeps coming back. And without Vic and his vision for himself to become a teacher and a coach and a student, continue to grow and learn, raising his family, I got to meet my wife, and because of that, at the campus of the Vic Braden Tennis College on the Austrian-German border at the high part of Bavaria. And because of that, Joanne and Andrew came along. So I can say that, truthfully, nobody can be more grateful for Vic's life than me. I'd like to finish with this. All the coaches are out here in one section. You all know this. You all know the score now. For some, this occasion might mean a lot of grief and mourning and a tough thing to swallow, and some people are going to the choke. But Vic would have a remedy, and it was all to do to the philosophy of laugh and win. And if you were down 6-love, 5-love, 30-love, you all know what to do. The next time your opponent hits a ball to your backhand, turn to the right, run over and take a forehand backswing, and just do a perfect slow motion forehand to the target. Your opponent will go to the choke, think you're on the sauce, you'll get yourself back in the match really, really quick. In conclusion, we will not miss Vic Braden. We are gathered here today at just such a place, at just such a time, with just such a gathering to honor just such a man. His righteousness will be an everlasting memory.
And now I'd like to call up Kris Paul, Vic's daughter. Kris and Melody worked tirelessly with Pam in the planning of this over the last month.
David, you're a hard act to follow. As Ray said, my name is Kris Paul. Vic was my teacher. He was my mentor. He was my best critic. He was my biggest champion. But most importantly, he was my pop. This is a poem I found by David Harkins called He Is Gone. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he would want, smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I thought I was at the bottom of the program. My name is Miguel Pulido. I'm here to talk about one of the last major endeavors in Vic's life, which was the Junior Tennis Ambassador Program. This program pretty much started the first day that I met him, and I remember that day well. I was about 11 years old, and I'd only been playing tennis for a year. I went with my dad. He was giving a lecture at Santa Ana High School, and I had no idea who Vic was. But I quickly learned what an amazing man he was. With all the stories, I quickly learned that he was a genius. And he started talking about some research he was doing, teaching kids to teach. He found that when kids know that they have to teach what they're learning, their learning retention goes up 300%. And so he had a dream to teach kids to teach tennis to other kids. So we went around to high schools teaching kids to teach tennis. And his sincerity is everlasting. Everything he did was always true, and everything I do in my life is with the values that he instilled in me. And though the program never realized all that he imagined of it, I think it's clear that his desires and what he believed in lives on in us today. So for that reason, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and just thank Vic for what he's done for me and everyone else. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Hickey, and I'm president of the Southern California Tennis Association. And it's an honor to be here today to remember Vic. The last 3 days I've been in Palm Springs, a little bit of rain on Friday, but I was at a 3-day team event for boys and girls 12 and under. And you'd be amazed at how 12 and under kids, how hard they can hit the ball these days. So I watched my daughter play for 3 days, and I had a lot of time to think about all the years that I've known Vic. And 3 things came to mind that I'm going to cover. 3 words: why, and dedication, and dad. So first, the word why. You know, when I graduated from college, I had played as a junior, grew up in Pasadena at the Pasadena Foothill Tennis Patrons, but I started my career, and people give up tennis sometimes in their 20s. And when I wanted to get back into tennis, the first thing I had to do was to go to Coto de Casa. And that's the first time that I met Vic, when I spent a week at Coto de Casa. And it was a great time. And the humor, the stories, who we knew, you really wanted to listen to. But here's the thing to me, you know, Vic's humor will live on. But think about what he contributed in terms of sports psychology, in terms of technology. You can think about, you know, what is a good swing, but Vic would tell you why it was a good swing. You can think, what was a good grip, and he would tell you why it was a good grip. He could tell you why you shouldn't do a split step, why when you come to the net, the Bryans never do a split step. So all those why things he answered with all of his technology like no one had ever done. So 50 years from now, some people may remember Vic's humor, but they will remember for sure the why and the technology. He was number one, and he'll always be remembered for that. Dedication, this one's easy. I've known Vic now for 25 years on the board of the Southern California Tennis Association. What he's done in our community in terms of Santa Ana and all the kids is pretty legendary. But Vic, here in Southern California, our board goes from San Luis Obispo to San Diego, and it's hard to have board meetings to get everyone together. But Vic never missed a board meeting. He was always there. In his later years, he might have had to have Bob Schaefer drive him there, but he got there. So I knew Bob Schaefer was coming because Vic was coming. But he was tough. He asked a lot of questions. He contributed a lot. When we sold the tournament a couple years ago, you know, he gave me a hard time. And he was a really contributing board member of Southern California for a long time. And I thank Vic for that. Okay, so why and dedication. Next one is dad. I have 2 daughters that play competitive tennis here in Southern California. They're 11 and 13. And I remember when my 13-year-old was 10, 3 years ago, and she had the worst grip you've ever seen. She was a left-hander, and her grip was over here. West of Western is what I would call it. And so one time I asked Vic, you need to help me with the grip for my daughter. I've got to change it. She can't go forward with this grip. You know, what should I do? Can you show me? I grew up with Eastern. You know, should it be Western? Where should my daughter be? So Vic thought about it, and he said, now remind me, Greg, did you play as a pro? And I said, no. He goes, were you ever a coach? And I said, no. He goes, so you're just the dad? I go, yeah, I'm just the dad. He goes, okay, so I'm going to give you some good advice. He says, you should teach your daughters to love the game. You should believe in your daughters. and you should tell your daughters that you like to watch them to play. And I'll always remember that advice from Vic. And I said, okay, Vic, that's fine. And I still remember those lessons now, but you didn't help me. Which grip? He said, Greg, stick to something you know how to do. I'd like to ask Bruce Hunt to come up, who's our executive director of the Southern California Tennis Association. And Melanie, we have something that we'd like to present you. Stand up. And Vic. We have a signed picture from all the staff at the Southern California Tennis Association. So thanks for the opportunity to talk to everyone today. And on behalf of the Southern California Tennis Association, to the Braden family, thanks for all that Vic did for us.
I'd like to share a few memories of my friendship with Vic, and I hesitate to say it's been for 51 years ago I met him. And they talk about, Tracy talked about the bus tours that he did, and in 1963 he did a bus tour throughout the Midwest playing matches. And I was a law student working at the Dubuque, Iowa Golf and Country Club. And he brought his kids there, and I can tell you it was a dream to see this legendary figure come to our modest facility in Iowa. But then a short 9 years later, we were working together with me as his business manager, negotiating a contract for him to go to Coto de Caza from Rancho Bernardo. And as we all know, Coto turned out to be a perfect place for him. He could teach thousands of students while continuing to conduct research. He was the mad scientist, the court jester, and the consummate teacher, all wrapped into one energetic body. The Vic Braden Tennis College was the place to go if you wanted to improve your tennis game and have a truly great experience. We stayed in touch over the years, and in 1999 he came to Detroit, where I was running a senior tennis event, and he was doing the television commentary. And we had lunch, and as usual, he was quite excited about new research, particularly in brain typing with John Niednagel. But he also shared that as he was focusing so much on research, perhaps he was neglecting his business. And he asked me if I would consider partnering with him to rebuild his business. His timing was ideal for me, as I had decided to sell my interest in the senior tour and was looking for new challenges. Our company marketed Vic's books, videos, speaking appearances around the country, and his popular tennis clinics. I recall that the biggest challenge in reactivating his business was to keep him focused on activities that would actually make money. He was staying up until 2 a.m. every night, dispensing advice for free to anyone who wrote him on the internet. But that was Vic, always focused on helping others. Looking out for his own well-being never really occurred to him. Vic was insatiable in his desire to continue learning and surrounded himself with the scientists he respected. In fact, I would say maybe idolized. Yet he also believed in forces that couldn't be explained by science. Do you recall when he was featured in Blink, a bestseller written by Malcolm Gladwell? Gladwell traveled to the desert to interview Vic to learn about his uncanny ability to predict when a top player was going to double fault before they even started their service motion. We often discussed this, and he had no logical explanation or scientific rationale for this intuition. He had a broad array of skills that might appear contradictory. How do you reconcile being a serious scientist and a gifted comedian? How do you explain that he rarely sought the spotlight, but was totally comfortable and in fact thrived when he was the star on stage? His qualities are legendary. His kindness and generosity will be his legacy, but he can also be direct. And I was the victim of that more than once. Years ago, he gave me a tennis lesson, and I explained that the problem with my forehand was I didn't have the same confidence as I did with my backhand. He quickly let me know the confidence was not the issue. The problem was that my forehand basically stunk and was really a lousy stroke. We will all miss Vic's humor. A favorite gift from Vic was a t-shirt that says, "There's a 90 and over national championship. You can start playing tennis at 60 and still have 30 years to work on your game." We can hear the joy in Vic's voice as he tells the story of the 91-year-old player drop-shotting and beating the 93-year-old, and the 93-year-old yelling, "Oh, to be 91 again." He made us laugh while he taught us to improve our game. He reminded us that if you see a ball hit 10 feet away and your first reaction is to call a cab, you might consider getting in better shape. And this advice was coming from a guy who joked about dining on low-cal donuts, in spite of the constant encouragement from Melody and others to eat healthier. I recall a time I walked into their home and Vic yelled, "Melody, get out the apples, Ray's here." Vic, we already miss you, and we certainly will never forget you. You're a 5'6" giant who combines science, humor, honesty, and humility to grow and share the greatest sport in the world. You helped all of us, and we're eternally grateful for everything you did to make our world a better place. Thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Hello, my name is Kaitlin Hittelman and I'm Vic's granddaughter. I want to begin by reading a letter written by my grandpa's niece, Lisa Braden Canning. I will miss my beloved Uncle Vic with his round freckled face and friendly, predictable smile. I will remember his compelling advice and compassion for my adopted children. I will treasure my memories of him floating down the Truckee River, listening to Billy Joel at a mountain chalet, and being a special guest at Coda de Casa. I will forever be awestruck by his contributions to the world, and I am proud to be his niece. My favorite memory of my Grandpa Vic would have to be working with him on my bat mitzvah project, which was putting on a tennis clinic benefiting PERC, the Pediatric Exercise Research Center at UCI. Working side by side, we were able to host a successful event that was able to bring the tennis experience to everyone, even those affected by illnesses or in wheelchairs. Seeing him so passionately speak about tennis and just his overall disposition brought so much life to the court and excitement to everyone around him. As great as this project was from a charity perspective, I think one of the most important lessons it has taught me was really the kind of man my grandfather was. He truly gained the most happiness in his life by sharing what he had with others, whether that be his love of tennis, his knowledge of just about every other topic you could think of, or simply his warm smile. My Grandpa Vic taught me to share, and I think that was a lesson he taught to the world as well. But, as a lot of us know, my grandpa was not always so keen to the notion of sharing. Growing up in a small town in Michigan during the Great Depression was not an easy life, especially when you had 6 siblings. To account for this, my grandpa actually became somewhat of a small town criminal, stealing tennis balls from the local recreation center. He was eventually caught by Coach Alto, who said he could either go to jail or learn to play tennis. I think we all know which option my grandpa took. This was the first step in the amazing legacy my grandpa would leave, not just on the tennis or scientific community, but on the world and every person he met. Looking out at all of you today, it becomes clear to me that my grandpa has shared with all of you something indescribably special. My great-uncle Ralph has said that the really beautiful part of Vic was his combined love of tennis and people, and the absolute dedication to bringing the joy of the sport to the world. Perhaps it was that first tennis lesson, or his involvement to one of the countless charities he supported. Perhaps it was his infectious laugh, or his unmistakable wink after a joke. For me, I think it comes down to this feeling of love and happiness that he gave me every time I was around him. I think that all of his incredible achievements and qualities about him have deeply touched each and every one of us. And I think that that is the true legacy he shared. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Kramer. I'm a volunteer with the Southern California Tennis Association Board of Directors, and it's a privilege to be here. I think the first time I might have met Vic on a sort of a pleasant note might have been when I was about 7 years or so, and I was actually selling water at Forest Hills through a fence, free dispensed water, and Vic came and rescued me, I think, from the local security folks. But I'll never forget Vic and the kind of feeling that he instilled in people and me, and what he did and how much he gave to the SCTA. Vic never knew the word no, and I think Ray just touched on that, always giving to other people. But Vic and Greg touched on this quite a bit. It was just an amazing resource to turn to, whether it was hosting a Tracy Austin clinic back at the LA Tennis Club in 1977, or advancing into the last years of our Pacific Southwest, the beloved Pacific Southwest, that Vic was always there, teaching and helping all of us do a better job. Vic was instrumental in so many areas, and obviously he always had that camera with him, but Vic served a number of roles, helping promote and develop the growth of tennis through the pro tours. I think Dad might have commented in his book that my 40 years in the game, that one of Vic's early job was a tough assignment, and that was he essentially was supposed to follow Pancho Gonzalez around and apologize for everything that Pancho said. Vic put his psychology to good use. Another Gonzalez story, might have been in Des Moines, Iowa, or Lincoln, Nebraska, where Pancho nothing was going to be right. And you probably know people in your lives who that applies to. But they're going to the gym, and they used to stretch out canvas over these hardwood floors. And Pancho would come in and say, Vic, I'm not going to play tonight. The lights aren't right, too many shadows over here, etc., etc. So Vic would tell Pancho, just go back to the hotel, take it easy, and come back in 2 hours. So nothing could be done. Nothing was done, but Vic would bring Pancho back and say, now, Pancho, we rearranged these lights over here. We took these 8 lights over there and moved them across the way. We had 3 electricians working for the last 2 hours. What do you think? He goes, Vic, it's much better now. Dad also touched that, Vic was there when times were tough. And for those of you who weren't born back in the 50s, there used to be an era where there weren't pros and amateurs playing together. But Vic actually turned himself pro and really took him out of any chance to win any of these kinds of what were then amateur tournaments. Because if you were a ball boy, if you were an official, or if you were a player on the pro tours, you were done with what was known as amateur tennis. So until 1968, Vic and a handful of other dedicated visionaries, working with Jack Kramer and others, kept the game alive, kept the flame going. Because when the best players turned pro, there was a new champion that would come forward, either at Forest Hills, Wimbledon, etc. In fact, there's a great man here with us today. Kevin Sullivan worked on those pro tours, driving trucks, selling programs, but Vic was part of that era. And sometimes he played, and sometimes he would pick up towels, and sometimes he'd be the advanced guy, and he'd hold hands with Gonzalez. But they kept that flame going until 1968. And as Dad put it, those were the dark years, but Vic was there. And to help get a great crew through those tough times, on and off the court, the Jack Kramer Club was built and provided just a wonderful home for so many great resources. And I think we all know Myra McNamara, who together with Vic and Tony Tragert and John Gardner and others, were instrumental in keeping those pro tours alive until finally, in 1968, we came up with open tennis. But Vic and those other leaders were laying the groundwork for what would become the golden era of our sport. And that's when everybody thinks that Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, and by the way, if any of you were ever around Bobby Riggs, I think he could go toe-to-toe with Vic on energy. It'd be a coin toss. Just constantly breathing. In fact, I think people like Bobby and Vic and my dad too, because we used to say if he had nothing to do, he'd head to the airport and just go somewhere. But they all went to the school of our sisters of perpetual motion, and never could rest. Always doing something, always giving. But what I take away from Vic, and when I think about it, is that Vic had so much going on with research and all the different things and recording data and all the filming and brain typing. I think after trying to brain type me, he sort of gave that up for about 6 months. But it really proves that imagination is more important than information. And Vic was someone, even with all the data and all the things he's trying to achieve, passed along that this infectious enthusiasm and energy for our sport. Now, I was out there on the backcourt. I was one of Vic's toads and donkeys, and for some reason I could learn the Backhand, which I always thought that maybe Vic was German, because it came out sort of Bavarian-like. Anyway, I was always able to have a better backhand than forehand, which made my dad not feeling too good, because that was his shot. But Vic carried through, and I was actually a graduate of sorts from one of his early tennis colleges. And the thing that really strikes me just looking back, and I'll try to wrap this up, is that this was 1977, and Vic, I think he gave similar speeches at the end of all the courses, which are week long, and he says, one day we're going to have teaching and coaching be so much better, because Vic was such a proponent of better coaching, better teaching, that we're going to end up with virtually perfect strokes, and everything else is going to come down to those intangibles. What's in your heart, how much you prepare, the kinds of conditioning that you're in. And if anybody's been watching some of these matches on the Tennis Channel, and thank you, Ken Solomon and others, it's really coming down to everyone with perfect strokes, and what don't you leave on the table as you leave. Anyway, I'd just like to say that we're so grateful for Vic. He's been such a great family, friend, etc., etc. Although we did have a sudden loss of judgment. I don't know if the two girls remember, but Kelly and her sister, I actually got to babysit a couple times, so don't bring any of those stories up today. But in conclusion, Melody, I just want to say this to you. Today, the SCTA and the tennis world embrace you. We open up our arms. We seek to comfort you, to tell you of our admiration and for your courage and your constant caring. And to the Braden kids, and since I babysitted, I think I can call them kids at age 65, Kory, Kristen, Troy, Sean, plus the grandchildren, all of our sympathy, all of our condolences to you all, and if we remember you too, your sister Kelly, home safe now with her father. As Vic's tennis and promoter student, and I was a student of his for 50 years or more, I learned more from Vic Braden than from anyone I encountered in all my years in the sport. I learned kindness and generosity. We all did. I also learned enthusiasm. The tennis community did. And then I learned about the unlimited possibilities of imagination and wonder. The whole world did. God bless you, Vic Braden, and the sport you loved, served, and led so well.
What a beautiful day for a beautiful man. My name is Bill Simons. I am the founder, editor, and publisher of Inside Tennis magazine, and it's an honor to be here to share. To many, Vic Braden was a guide. Clearly, he was a master. Some even called him a sage or even a guru. And like all such things, all such folks on occasion, Vic Braden would talk about enlightenment. He said the moment of enlightenment was when a person's dreams of possibilities became images of probabilities. What was that? Well, Vic basically felt that enlightenment is when a person's dreams become probabilities. So that invites the question, was our Vic Braden enlightened? Well, he certainly took young Tracy Austin from the little sandboxes of this beautiful club to the biggest courts in the world. But of course, others have also produced world champions. He wrote one incredible book after another. Then again, we've been blessed with many prolific writers. Vic's creation of his singular tennis college was an extraordinary entrepreneurial triumph, inventive and full of fun. There, laugh and learn was the happy mantra. Was there any greater physical expression of the free-form tennis boom, the greatest sports boom America's ever seen? Of course, these days, every pro in the county has their own academy. As a player, Vic was on the pro circuit and battled the likes of Kramer and Pancho Gonzalez. He dismissed himself as a donkey, and he never reached the Wimbledon finals. But hold on, just a second. Vic himself said, "Your success doesn't depend on your ranking." Still, when it came to curiosity, Vic's mind was number one. Always wondering, active, probing, connected, absorbed in an eternal quest. He was up there with the best minds in our sport. Vic was also one of the leading scientists in our game. Towards the end of his incredible journey, he became wrapped up in one scientific project after another. Here was Albert Einstein in tennis shorts. He did his best work in sneakers. Who else in our game asked more questions or came up with more experiments? Vic, of course, became an expert on brain types, but the coal miner's son from Michigan was beyond typecasting. He was one of a kind. God knows they've tossed away the mold. Anyone who's seen me in the press room knows that on occasion I don't exactly hesitate to ask the offbeat question. But right there with me on the road less traveled was Vic, my kindred spirit. Every year at our beloved Indian Wells, I knew I'd hear that still Michigan, after all these years, voice with its distinctive twang coming from the back of the press room, asking provocative questions only he could concoct. He once told Roger Federer that at our research center, we found that players get 2.2 seconds between their hits. So a lot of players are getting leg injuries and have ankle and knee problems. Roger, have you ever practiced changing directions more softly? What allows you to get away with not suffering the injuries the others are getting? Even the mighty Federer was dumbfounded. Well, I don't know, Federer responded. But then Roger was bitten by what I call the Braden bug. The question triggered the mighty Fed to talk rather poetically about the flow and movement of tennis. So score one for Vic Braden. Again and again, Vic told us that it took 200 milliseconds for the hand to respond to the brain. But anyone who knew Vic realized in a flash that this little man with a big heart was unique. In the end, to me, Vic's true genius was how he intuitively sensed the critical role of humor in this often somber world of quarterly reports. Yes, the good Novak Djokovic and Lee Na have reduced entire stadiums to stitches, but Vic had us laughing over the course of a lifetime. He told us, if you can walk to the water cooler without falling over, you have the physical skills to be a tennis player. And he noted that the long ago French champion Françoise Dour had such a bizarre grip, she could have choked a cow with 2 fingers. How did that guy come up with these things? Well, he sensed, as Mark Twain told us, that humor is the great thing, the saving thing. After all, the minute it crops up, our hardness, our irritations flit away, and a sunny spirit takes their place. Or maybe Vic knew, as Ann Wilson Chafe asserted, that humor isn't for everyone. It's only for people who want to have fun, enjoy life, and feel alive. But to me, Vic's approach was more in the spirit of Marilyn Chandler, who insisted humor is a rich, versatile source of power, a spiritual resource, very much like a prayer. There's no doubt that Vic continually enlightened us with his humor. So then, was he enlightened? Well, by his own definition of enlightenment, which was turning dreams of possibility into images of probability, the answer would most emphatically be yes. Vic's dream of bringing this great and wonderful game to the masses and inspiring and informing even the most clunky among us became a bright, shining reality. But even more than this, Vic Braden was number one in heart. He had an elfin spirit and was, over the course of 6 decades, a Pied Piper with that whimsical glint in his eye. He helped so many, whether they were blessed with bright beamers or suffered from dark maladies. And oh, did Vic Braden love the kids. Here was everyone's favorite tennis uncle. Okay, we get it. He was never the world's number 1 player. But in giving, in love, Vic Braden was unmatched. He got us playing, he got us thinking, he got us laughing. More than anything, he was so jolly, he was so positive. He touched our hearts and shared his passion. It seemed that he was always in some kind of perpetual state of amazing. And so this is why everyone at this beautiful club, and so many beyond, will always embrace, will always love our dreamer, our visionary, our Vic. Thank you.
Like Vic, I have to lower the microphone. Thank you. Thank you all so much for having me here today. My name is Helene Belisle, and I'm the Executive Director of the Arthritis National Research Foundation. I've heard so many wonderful stories of Vic. I'm so blessed to have had him in my life only for the last 6 years. I can still hear his voice, and I didn't think I'd be here talking and telling you what a wonderful man he is that you already know. I think we should all strive to be the same brain type as Vic was. That's where we all need to be. The Arthritis National Research Foundation is a charity that funds research to cure arthritis and lupus. And lupus, unfortunately, was near and dear to Vic and Melody's heart because Vic lost his sister at the age of 19 to lupus, and he lost his daughter Kelly to lupus. He told me that he told Kelly that one day he would do what he could to help eradicate that disease. And it just so happened that one of our scientists was at one of Vic's clinics at St. George, Utah, at the Vic Braden Tennis College in St. George, Utah, and somehow they got to talking. I can't imagine Vic not talking to somebody. And Vic shared the story about Kelly and his sister. And this doctor is on our scientific advisory board and that said, I think you need to meet Helene and you need to meet the folks at the Arthritis National Research Foundation because lupus is an arthritis disease. People might not know that, but it's an autoimmune form of arthritis. And so we met for lunch. And basically the rest is history. We spent our 1 hour lunch turned into 3, and I could have sat there all afternoon listening to his stories. We were captivated, and honestly I felt like I had a new dad after I left that lunch. It was pretty spectacular. And then meeting Melody, and we really became family over the last 6 years. In 2010, thanks to the wonderful Kramer brothers, we put together a golf tournament, and it honored Vic and Jack's lifelong friendship, and we created awareness and helped raise funds for arthritis research together. This has been said before, but it was in my notes, so I'm going to say it again. Vic never said no to anything we asked of him. He was willing to use his celebrity and his contacts and people that he knew to help spread the word about the importance of the research, the importance of lupus research, and as you said, about the children. Kids get arthritis too, and Vic knew that, and he also was working hard with the junior tennis ambassadors because he wanted people to know about children getting arthritis. He was famous in the world of tennis, and to most of you here, but he really, I feel like he gave his heart to us. He gave us so much of himself. He used to call me on the phone and say, I'm coming from tennis. Do I have to change my clothes and dress in a suit and tie for the board meeting? And I'd say, no, just come in your tennis clothes. So this is for you, Vic. We gotcha. We gotcha. Just in conclusion, to honor Vic and his commitment to his promise to Kelly, the Arthritis National Research Board of Directors has said that in perpetuity from this time forward, for the best project in lupus research that we award to a young scientist every year, it will from now on be called the Vic and Kelly Braden Memorial Grant for Lupus Research.
I'm Pam Austin, and I'm the oldest of the 5 Austins. Jeff, Doug, John, and Tracy. That was really nice, that award. You know, there would not be Austins if there was not Vic Braden and the Kramer Club, so we owe a debt of gratitude to that. And the section over there is the Junior Kramer Club, original juniors over there. Yay, Wendy Appleby, Abby Eric Wise, Tom Bozarth. Just anyway, a lot of kids who came back and we changed our lives here. We felt very lucky. I'm actually up here to read a letter from Billie Jean King, and she thought the world of Vic. So this is her letter to him. Hello, everybody. I wish I could be there with you today to celebrate the life and legacy of our friend Vic Braden. Vic was a pioneer in our world and a man who took tennis to new heights through psychology and science. He was committed to making it accessible and enjoyable for everyone who played, professional and recreational players alike. The New York Times was correct in calling him the patron saint of the weekend hacker. My first day as a contract pro with the National Tennis League in 1968, we were in Cannes, France, and I was set to play Francois Dour. It was raining hard outside, and there was probably 200 people in the gym to watch us. I sat on the bench after the match with Vic, the man who took such great care of the players, and he had a big bag of money right next to him and a big smile on his face. It is a memory I will never forget. He made my first day on a new job a memorable experience, and over the course of that tour, we would often rely on Vic's sense of humor and his storytelling to keep us all sane. It was Vic who first introduced me to the great Tracy Austin. Tracy was all of 4 or 5 years old and was hitting balls barefooted on a hard court at the Jack Kramer Club on a day I happened to have a meeting with Vic. I asked Vic, "Who is that?" You could already see Tracy had talent and that famous Austin determination. Vic looked me in the eye and he said Tracy will be special, and he was right. Tennis owes so much to Vic Braden because he asked the right questions and he was so deeply committed to improving our sport through innovation. He also was one of my favorite people in the world, and I cherished the moments I had with him, not just because of what he did for tennis, but because of the man he was. I was so proud to call him my friend. Thank you, Melody, and all your family for sharing Vic with us. He will forever be remembered as one of the great men of our world. Billie Jean King.
Thank you, Pam. We're going to have a musical performance, but before that, we'd like to have all of the former coaches at the Vic Braden Tennis College or anybody ever learned under Vic to stand up and let's give him a big hand. Wonderful. It's now my pleasure to introduce Monique, Maffei, Hester, who will give us a musical performance.
Didn't know how windy it was going to be or not, and isn't it lovely that we actually have this cloud cover? Yeah. They all aren't roasting out there.
I'm really honored to be here, so thank you.
Shadows are falling and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly, called when all is said and done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Shine, light, 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 low. Keep me in your heart smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams, touch me as I fall into view. When the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Engine drivers heading north out to Pleasant Stream. Keep me in your heart for a while. If these wheels keep a-turning, well, they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Shine, light, 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 low. Keep me in your heart for a while. Shine, light, 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 low. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a
Hi, I'm Dennis Claus, and I want to do something real quick because I know, as we all know, that Vic, before I start, Vic would always thank everybody for letting him do something for them. It was absolutely amazing. He did that all the time. So I want to thank, because I know he's thanking him right now, Monique and Mia, who's going to sing later. Right after they heard about Vic's passing, Mia called me and said, can we do anything? Can we sing at the service? And so, two of the most amazing people I know, and they sing at the Queen of Hearts tournament every year. That's how they know Vic. They've known him for many years through that event. And then two other people that probably would go unnoticed, and one is the guy in the green shirt over there who wouldn't wear the white shirt, Brian Dimshow. Many of us know this because Brian is a USTA referee. He's also master electrician, and he's also a former chairman of the Vic Braden Chocodrinos Tennis Classic, and just a great guy and great friend. And he started his day at 4 o'clock this morning to make this happen. So that's why we have all of this. And the audio-visual setup was from a guy named Manny Wante, who I actually had never met Vic Braden, but his son is on my tennis team. I coach high school tennis, and one day we had a tennis banquet, and he said, I go, what do you do, Manny? He goes, well, I do a little stuff for, I don't know, some of the big shows, like The Voice or whatever. And I said, you do some audio. So that's how we got this done today. He actually changed, he's on his way, he's actually in Cabo right now, a little jealous, but he changed his flight about an hour and a half so he could be here this morning, make sure that it was set up. So I got to tell you, Brian, great job. And this is Manny's partner, Ron, right over here. Unbelievable, great job. And this wasn't on the script either, but he brain typed me also, Vic did, and we were on the way to Children's Hospital LA one time, and he started talking about brain typing, and he said, well, what do you think you are? And I go, I don't know, I'm a little shy, and I think I'm like an IN. He goes, no, you're an ENTP, just like that. I go, no, there's no way. We spent about a half hour discussing it, but I wasn't going to win that argument. And when I said I thought I was an I, he goes, yeah, right, okay, let's move past that. I was asked to speak today on behalf of Children's Hospital Orange County and the Chalk Padrinos. Chalk Padrinos is a men's and women's support group that raises money for Children's Hospital Orange County. The Padrinos have raised millions and millions of dollars for the hospital, and Vic was a lifetime member of the Padrinos. However, Vic did a lot more than just what he did for Children's Hospital. He was involved with numerous charities. As you know, Helene was here. He was also involved with the Diabetes Foundation, the Elias Sweet Foundation. We mentioned the Arthritis Foundation, and also the Queen of Hearts Foundation that raises money for ovarian cancer research. And unlike many of the people that are here today, I've only known Vic probably about 30 years. That's when I met him. He wanted to hold a little charity tennis tournament at Coto de Casa to raise money for Children's Hospital. It was kind of a little affair. People were kind of having a few little libations. They were having some fun tennis down there. And Vic was, as we know, Vic was so excited about doing things for the kids. Little did he know that through the 90s and through the early 2000s that the Children's Hospital Tennis Classic, the Vic Braden Children's Hospital Tennis Classic, averaged about 1,600 participants, one of the biggest charity events in the nation. And in one of our events, we had actually 7 former #1 players in the world play in that event, besides all the NTRP divisions. So Vic was unbelievably happy with that event, and he did everything that he could do for the event. He did TV commentary, he did photo ops, he videotaped the event, and while I have that on the mind, Vic has hundreds and hundreds of hours of videotape, some very, very rare footage. And it's my hope that the tennis community, with the Braden family, can somehow come up to use that video to enhance tennis in a meaningful way. Because I can tell you, no one on this planet has as much video as Vic. And probably the family's had to lug it around a little bit, so. And regarding that video, Vic went everywhere with his bag. He had this bag of stuff, his gear and his camera. And the weight never seemed to bother him. He slung it over his shoulder and carried that camera. But, I was thinking about it while I was sitting down over here. And, I remember Melody carrying that bag once in a while. And I remember me carrying that bag. And Dan O'Connor, he's here. He's carried that bag. And Brian's carried that bag. And I think Andy Fitzell sitting back there has carried that bag. So maybe Vic figured out a way that he didn't have to carry the bag. He just carried it around with him all the time. But I can tell you that there were times when it took 2 ball kids to carry that bag. It weighed so much. But he went everywhere with that bag. He never stopped working, and I can remember I had a meeting with him in the early 1990s down at Coto, and I went in, and he frankly, he didn't look that good. He looked very tired to me, and I said, Vic, are you taking any time off? Are you getting any time off at all? And he looked at me, and he like, really? He goes, yeah, I had Thanksgiving off last year. In 2002, we started a new charity event, the Queen of Hearts Foundation, which raises money for ovarian cancer research at UCI. And the tournament now, for the last many years, has been known as the Vic Braden Queen of Hearts Charity Tennis Tournament, and it will continue with his name. We were blessed to have him be a part of our event and raise money for that event. It's interesting because we have a party associated with that event called the Tux and Tennies Party. And I do have a picture of Vic in a tux with his tennis shoes on, which is rare to have a tie on anyway, but he did have his tennis shoes on. So I think the only reason he really got involved in the event so he could wear tennis shoes with his suit. He loved UCI, and as we mentioned earlier, and he worked a lot with Dan Cooper, who runs the ICTS, the Institute for Clinical Translational Science. And he would do anything he could to help him out. And Vic obviously loved the science aspect of the sports. We talked about tennis in particular. And there's a picture on my Facebook page, if some of you are my friends on Facebook. And there's a picture of us doing some TV commentary. We both had the headsets on, and Vic is gazing out over the court. And I'm kind of looking back at him with this odd look. And I remember Stormy Sweet from the Elias Sweet Foundation said, "What were you thinking? What were you thinking when you're looking at him? Because it is kind of an odd look." And I go, "Well, I think it probably went something like this. Me, wow, Vic, that was an amazing shot. Vic, Dennis, when a body, such as a sphere or a circular cylinder, is spinning in a viscous fluid, it creates a boundary layer around itself, and the boundary layer induces a more widespread circular motion of the fluid. If the body is moving through the fluid with the velocity v, then the velocity of... Well, you get the idea. Me. Just what I was thinking. Lastly, there were 3 major events that happened this year that showed what a great man Vic was. We were asked to run a junior tournament. It was a little controversial, and I didn't know if I really wanted to do it. So I called Vic and I said, you know, we run adult events. Do I really want to get involved in this junior event? And he goes, what kind of event is it? And I said, well, and I don't want to hear any groaning out here, please, but it was a yellow ball tournament for 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So, and I didn't really know if I wanted to get involved with this. I think Bill and I talked about this on the phone also. So, but Vic goes, oh, you know, let's try it. I'm really excited about it. You know, and goes through this whole thing that he wanted to be there. He wanted to videotape all the kids and talk to me. And he said, you know, I haven't been feeling that great, but you know, I'm sure I'll try to make it. Well, on the day of the tournament on Saturday, Vic shows up, and I was kind of surprised because he said he wasn't feeling that well. So I said, well, I didn't know if you're going to make it. He goes, hey, I wouldn't have missed this. So he was interviewing all these kids, and he was asking the kids what they liked and didn't like. Did they like playing the regular ball or whatever? And he treated them exactly like they were pro tennis players, exactly like if they were off the tour. And these were young kids. And during a small break, he came over to me, and he said, you know, Dennis, as I mentioned to you, I haven't been feeling that good, so just keep an eye on me. And I said, well, what's wrong? Are you okay? And he goes, well, you know, I'm in a heart failure. And I go, what? I mean, I honestly panicked. I looked for a chair. I didn't know what to do. And I go, right now? I mean, you're right now? And he goes, no, that's a minute. Just keep an eye on me. And I go, well, how on earth am I going to know? And he looks at me and he gets that little smile. You know, he kind of looks away and gets that little smile and he goes, I'll be laying on the ground. At one point, this was interesting because, you know, this guy actually played today and Federer beat him, but at one point he was interviewing this 9-year-old boy who wound up being the finalist in the 10s, Rudy. And he had been asking everybody who their favorite tennis player. And, you know, everybody said, well, it's Roger, or it's Rafa, or, you know, it's Serena, or it's Maria. They were going through this whole thing talking about these tennis players, and all of us know, all the standard, but some kids didn't have a favorite tennis player. And this little 9-year-old Rudy, I mean, he was like this tall. He looks right at Vic, right at the camera, and he goes, Gasquet. And Vic looks at him and goes, Richard Gasquet? That's your favorite tennis player? And he goes, well, why is he your favorite tennis player? So this little 9-year-old boy goes into this in-depth analysis of Gasquet's backhand and his attitude on the court. And honestly, for the first time in my life that I'd known him, Vic was stunned. He had nothing to say. He just looked at little Rudy and he turns to me and he goes, you know what? American tennis is okay. The second one was the Queen of Hearts tournament this year, which is Labor Day and the weekend after. And Vic always comes and gives a speech. He used to give a clinic. Melody called me on Saturday and said that Vic had not been feeling well and that he may not make it. And we understood it was okay. But true to form, Vic Braden did make the event. He came and we got him in the wheelchair and we wheeled him down to center court. And if you've ever been to Newport Beach Tennis Club, this is a piece of cake getting down to this court versus getting, not easy to get off this court, but it's easy to get down on this court compared to Newport Beach. Vic gets over, gets down, walks down on the court, sits down, and gave one of the most impassioned speeches. It was memorable speeches that I've ever heard him give, and I've heard lots of them. And he begged and begged and begged people to get involved rather than sit on the sidelines. Something that Vic was really well known for. And the last event that was a couple weeks before Vic passed away, and it was a full circle because, you know, we had the Vic Braden Tennis Classic and then it kind of went away, not because of anything the tournament had done, but some internal change in the hospital. My wife told me not to say that, but I have to explain why. So it was full circle, and so Chalk decided that maybe they'd made a mistake, and they honored Vic and gave him a lifetime honorable honor for all the work that Vic had done with the kids in Orange County in Southern California, raising awareness for childhood disease and everything else. And honestly, they were absolutely right. He's one of the most impassioned men I know. So Vic was there, and he went up and he gave, I think Melody remembers, it wasn't like a 2-minute speech. It was a long, long speech talking about making sure that you give back, get involved, don't sit on the sidelines. It was very emotional. So I can tell you that for me, I was very blessed to have known Vic for these past 30 years. He was an inspiration, a great friend, a mentor, and a truly great man. And for this next part of the journey, I know that there's some people here that have spoken, Miguel, and about the junior tennis and medical ambassadors program that Vic started, which is an awesome program. In fact, I think the first event that he showed it off the SCTA was at the courts at Foothill High School, and Tiffany Geller and Henry Talbert were there. It was wonderful. But I can tell you this, that Vic right now has already started the Junior Angels Ambassador program. And I guarantee you that there are no days off in the near future for Vic Braden. So I just want to say rest in peace, my friend. We miss you, but your legacy will be with us forever. We also have something very special today. Another person that had met Vic through the Queen of Hearts Foundation tournament. We honor different people in the community every year for what they do in the community. One of those people is with us today, and her name is Maya Spelman. Maya is a world-renowned artist and a philanthropist, and she has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charitable causes throughout Southern California. So we wanted to do something, Melody, for you, and so we asked Maya to paint a little something for you. And so if you'd come up here for a second and Melody, Maya. Here. Thank you, Vic. Maya, thank you so much. It's awesome.
Hi, I'm Mary Lange. I was a Kramer Club junior and worked for Vic at some of his tennis colleges, so I'm going to talk about the tennis college years. Vic dreamt of teaching tennis to large numbers of people over a 2 to 5 day period, and of course, we've all heard, conduct research. Rancho Bernardo was the site of the first tennis college. I was still playing tennis at UCLA, but Vic would enlist some of his Kramer Club juniors to help coach on busy weekends and during the summer. Then the tennis college moved to Lake Tahoe. The teaching lanes were built right on the lake, and we were all mesmerized by the beautiful vistas. Next stop, Palm Desert. We were there during the winter months, but it still got so hot that we used to rotate our students through the sprinklers to cool off. In 1974, the tennis college found its home in Costa de Caza. Vic's dream hit a grand slam, and he garnered a global and celebrity student body and eventually expanded to other locations in the United States and Europe. Geez, not too bad for a kid who got caught stealing tennis balls and always said he was so poor he had to save up and get weighed. Another standard Vicism. We've heard quite a few and you're going to hear a few more. At the tennis college, Vic always started his opening lecture by finding out where his students had traveled from. So let's just take a minute and continue that legacy, because I know a lot of you came from some faraway places. So please raise your hand. Is anyone here from out of state or out of country? Let's just see. Raise your hands. Where? Texas, Colorado, Washington, D.C. What was it? Maryland. Illinois. Oh, Do you guys know each other? Vic used to make a joke about that at the tennis college because he used to say sometimes people would come to the tennis college incognito and they would tell the people that they played against that they were going to their grandmother's house for the weekend, but then they both showed up at the tennis college and they were in trouble. They got busted because they couldn't come back and tell anyone that they hadn't been practicing. Is anyone here from Northern Cal? Let's see how many from Northern Cal. Good. And how about who's here from Coto de Caza in Orange County? Back there? Oh, lots of people. Great. And finally, where are the Kramer Club veterans and locals? Okay. Then Vic would always ask, where are the rest of you from? Some of you didn't raise your hand. Next, he would inquire about the ability levels of his students and find out what they wanted to improve the most, forehand, backhand, serve, etc. And he usually ended up with, and who is here just to get a tan? Another Vicism. His laughter and optimistic attitude were infectious, and as he taught people to learn, and you'll remember some of these, to hit the same old boring winner and laugh your guts out while giving your opponent one more chance to take gas. Woohoo! He stated that great strokes will help you give your opponent a new navel, even while you have Excedrin headache number 38. You guys are going to remember. He told us to remember that the game is a piece of cake. If you eliminate the special sauce, air your armpit and watch out for the fuzz sandwich. And avoid the pitfalls of the equipment freak. He reminded us that even if you were a toad, if you can walk to the drinking fountain without falling down, you can beat Bertha, laugh your way to the finals, and become the king or queen of Pismo Beach. However, you may never end up being 6'3" and thin. Before Vic Braden, you hit a forehand. After, a forehand. Before Vic Braden, a backhand. After a thank you. And we didn't just hit fantastic shots, they were fantastic shots. We know Vic spent a lot of time with the Aussies, but do you think he really was a secret Anglophile? Vic was not only an outstanding coach and teacher, but also a humanitarian. He celebrated the individual worth of each person, celebrity, gardener, CEO, waitress alike. He felt that the slightest comment, positive or negative, could change the course of someone's life. Vic recognized that a teacher's power had ramifications that reached far beyond the task at hand. Therefore, his quest to make the game fun transcended tennis. He strove to nurture beautiful and confident spirits. I witnessed that behavior from Vic as a teenager, and today that legacy of his teaching integrity lives on in my personal interactions with my students. One last personal tribute. I currently teach art, drawing and painting at West High School in Torrance. 2 years ago, I was awarded Teacher of the Year. A few days after I received the award, I asked my husband, Ted, to do something. At first, he hesitated. I smiled and said, Teacher of the Year. He laughed and said, okay. Then he looked at me and asked, how long is this going to last? I smiled again and said, Teacher of the Year. So as we each honor the legacy of Vic Braden in our own lives, I would like to salute Vic for his laugh and win philosophy and thank him for a year of wishes on my honey-do list.
It's always hard to follow a Teacher of the Year. And my UCLA teammate. My name is Gayle Godwin. I had the great fortune to teach at 6 of Vic's different tennis colleges, some as a guest instructor with some of you guys and some more full-time. But I also helped him run his ski college. And so I'm really here today to discuss the ski college. Welcome to 1987. Vic was in his late 50s. Corporations were just starting to use fax machines, and digital cell phones had not yet been invented. The Vic Braden Ski College was born, Aspen, Colorado, Buttermilk Mountain. When one thinks of a leader of a ski school, an image of a tall,
strikingly good-looking, golden-tanned Norwegian usually comes to mind. As the best skier on the mountain, he teaches as though he were God. Vic shattered this image. He was an intermediate skier. He'd never taught a ski lesson in his life. The concept of a ski turn eluded him, and he was so happy when he discovered that his ski boots did not have to hurt. How was this tennis guy going to have an impact on the ski industry? Some of you might be wondering that now. Little did the ski world know Vic would revolutionize it. He spent 8 winters of his life in Aspen with the ski college. When Vic entered the ski industry, the basic teaching method for instructors was, listen to what I have to say and follow me. For an instructor to learn from another instructor, they would basically say, I want to watch you ski the back of Bell Mountain, and if I think you're a great skier, I might listen to what you have to say. The ski industry needed Vic Braden. Vic created a very different learning environment for both the student and the teacher. I'll quantify a few things because Vic always liked to quantify. He introduced student-centered learning. Heard a lot about brain typing. He introduced learning styles to the ski industry. He created a student's bill of rights. He encouraged feedback. He used video daily. He was able to reduce fear and anxiety in students, a little more life-threatening than tennis, I think, skiing, by addressing fears and not ignoring them. He created a learning environment where the students' questions were answered before they even arrived in Aspen or set foot on the slopes. Believe it or not, he wanted his students to have fun, thus creating an environment where learning and breakthroughs took place on a daily basis. For the teacher, he started by calling them coaches instead of instructors. He built an environment where it was okay for them to make mistakes and not be threatened. He instilled that it was the coach's job to get into the student's world, not the student's job to get into theirs. The student's feedback was essential. He created good listeners and communicators. He created an environment of support, respect, and trust. The goal was to maximize performance and enjoyment in the shortest period of time. The ski college became many things. It became the last chance place to learn to ski nationwide. It became a place when a skier had reached a plateau and couldn't make a breakthrough to the next level of skiing, they came to the ski college. If you had fear and hadn't been able to really ever get on the ski slopes, it was a place to come to learn. Or anybody who just wanted a fun place to learn to ski. All of this resulted in Buttermilk Mountain being named the best place to learn to ski in the country because of the Vic Braden Ski College. So Vic, thanks from the thousands of skiers that you've kept in this sport or introduced to this sport. Thanks from the hundreds of ski coaches that ask about you all the time, whose lives you've touched and changed. The coaches were really important to Vic, and I'm going to just include kind of 4 of our core coaches' comments. From Mary Wolf. Student-centered learning grew leaps and bounds because of Vic. Our professional organization, the PSIA, needed a push in this direction, and he pushed hard for more success for the student. Joy is what I feel when I think of Vic. From Chris Gulick. I frequently think of Vic's smile, encouragement, and infectious enthusiasm for life. His self-deprecating stories of his own discovery of skiing enabled him to empathize with all the students and coaches. The ski college made me a better listener and gave me more patience and empathy for all. My experience as a coach at the ski college was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Muriel Fry. I learned more from Vic about life, teaching, and people in the 8 years with Vic than I did in my 40 years of ski teaching. And from John Bachram. Vic is a pro who leads by example. His caring, patient, empathetic approach to coaching is a metaphor for life. Vic's labeling of instructors as coaches and treating us all as professionals was confidence building. First and foremost, I will never forget laugh and win. And to sum it up, don't eat too many low-cal donuts.
Hello everybody, I'm John Embree. I'm the CEO for the United States Professional Tennis Association, and what a thrill it is for me to be here. Vic has been called the coach's coach, the teacher's teacher, and we all know that he influenced so many hundreds, even thousands of teaching professionals throughout the country, and there wasn't ever a time when Vic did not accept an invitation to go to speak to a convention or go to a clinic and help our professionals become better. And it's only appropriate, therefore, that we inducted Vic into the Hall of Fame for the USPTA last September in Orlando, and it was a very special occasion. So when Vic passed, you can imagine the outpouring of support and love, and just the tributes were just fantastic. And whether you like social media or not, the good news is it's all part of the public domain. And so we decided to go ahead and do something we think is a little bit special. We scoured the internet and took a look at all the articles that were written and the letters that were written and the blogs that were posted and the tweets and all the Facebook, everything. And so Melanie, on behalf of the USPTA and our 15,000 members, I'm going to present to you a gift and a book that compiles all of the tweets and social media messages and letters and articles that were written about Vic since his passing. And so whenever you have one of those lonely days and lonely nights, take a look at this, because there's some pretty special thoughts from a lot of people in here.
I'd also like to thank Harold Heck. Harold is the absolute pro when it comes to video, who put together the whole presentation here and the interviews and so forth. So Harold, please stand up, take a bow. And a number of you have indicated you'd like to say a few words. I have two people we'll start out with. First, Lee from Wilson. Yeah.
I'm Lee DeYoung, and as Ray Benton said, I'm here on behalf of Wilson Sporting Goods to convey Wilson's sympathy and condolences to Melody and Vic's family on Vic's passing, and also to thank Vic for many years of sponsorship and association and partnership, which benefited Wilson in so many ways. Mike Dowse, the president and general manager of Wilson, has sent a letter to Melody and the family with Melody's permission. I'll read that now. It says, "Dear Melody, on behalf of all of us at Wilson Sporting Goods, I want to convey my deepest sympathy to you and your family on Vic's passing. As the iconic head of American tennis instruction, Vic played an integral role in bringing tennis into a mainstream sport, and Wilson was privileged and proud to have been a partner throughout his lifetime. I've asked Lee DeYoung, a longtime friend and associate of Vic's, to represent us as a Wilson designee to pay our respects at Vic's memorial. All of us who are in tennis have benefited from Vic's lifetime work, and he, along with his partner Jack Kramer, will forever be remembered as the faces of Wilson, exemplifying the best that our game has to offer. I join the list of many thousands who say thank you to Vic for all he has done for us, and everyone in the Wilson family joins me in the grateful celebration of his life and hope that your sorrow is tempered by the joy he brought to all of us he touched. With deepest sympathy and best wishes, Mike Dowse. And on a personal note, Melody, I just want to thank you and Vic's family for all the wonderful times and the years in friendship, and I'm very sorry for your loss. And Vic, I want to thank you for everything you've taught me. You've taught me how to really enjoy this game, how to teach this game. You've been a great mentor, a wonderful, loyal friend, and I will miss you.
Thank you, Lee. I'd like to ask Jay and Sherry Paul to come up, please.
Hello all. If you're here today, you know why you're here. Trying to hold back emotion, I'll let you know right from the get-go. I'm not good at weddings, bar mitzvahs, or special celebrations for people. I'm a kind of an emotional person, and I brought my wingman here to back me up, my loving wife, Sherry. As I sat and listened to those who preceded me, I was hoping that I could have something left that hadn't been said. And I got lucky. First, as I laid awake last evening, in bed late, thinking about Vic, I dozed off, and I found myself in heaven. Wow, am I lucky? I went to the gates and asked to speak to the big fella. I got lucky. I got an audience. Well, when I got there, it was like, what are you doing here? I have a wish. Another famous person once said that. And what is your wish? Well, Lord, I wish for canonization of my buddy, Vic Braden. And when I left, I'll have you all know that we have a new saint. His name is Saint Vic. Thank the Lord that somebody didn't say that before me. But we all know he's a saint. Touched us. And we love him. My wife and I live in the desert in Coachella Valley. We're blessed to have a wonderful event every year there for probably the last 25 or 30 years, and we've been to most of them all. And as the tournament has grown in popularity, over the last number of years, say within 10, a special award was given. And every year I would go. It was never Vic. It was others who were being honored, and rightfully so. And as time went on, I said, doesn't look like it's going to happen. you got to do something. So you got to put your mouth up and you got to go forward. Sat down, drafted a letter with my sweetheart, and this is what it said to hopefully get the attention. And I'll ask my sweetie to read it for us, please.
This was written in January of 2013 to Tom Thigh, Director of Tennis at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, regarding Vic Braden. Per my recent conversation with you, herewith is the background information on Vic Braden, which he has provided. Vic has been a household name and a legend in the world of tennis since we all can remember. It is my hope that you can plant the bug in someone's ear to consider Vic this year for the award that is given to an individual who has given their life to our incredible sport. I have known Vic Braden and his three brothers for 60 years. They, as time has gone on, have regarded me as one of their brothers. They are my brothers and best friends. At age 11, they taught me the game of tennis in Toledo, Ohio. At age 23, after receiving a college tennis scholarship and competing at the college level, they then hired me to work for them as a teaching professional in Los Angeles. Over the years, I have been with Vic in one-on-one discussions regarding the passion and love for teaching and giving. He has set the bar as high as is possible, and he has touched thousands of people all over the world with his gift of delivering a tennis message in a serious but humorous way that those who have joined his path will never forget. May the powers that be please check out anyone in our industry to verify the goodness of this man. It is with great honor that I suggest and promote this year's award. You're shaking. Be given to Vic Braden. Last year, the country of Australia honored him at the Australian Open, introduced by Tracy Austin. She was one of his students from the time she was 4 years old. Let us not overlook one of our own. Thanks for your consideration. J. Paul, a man consumed for the passion of love of tennis.
My friend Tom did what he could do, but there was no follow-up that first year. Well, being Rambo, I didn't give up. I found another name, and I sent the same letter in the same package with the same passion. Nothing. I didn't hear anything. Became frustrated, but I didn't give up. The following year, I met someone at a jazz concert at the Tennis Gardens, and hi, how you doing? It's been a while. She said, hey, I need a favor. What is it? I've got somebody that I'd love to have honored at the tennis tournament next year. Who's that? Vic Braden. Vic Braden? Oh, I know Vic Braden real well. By the way, I'm in charge of that. I picked the person. I said, wow. I came to my wife. I found what I need. So I sent the package out, and I followed up by saying, did you get the package? And it was received. And then I didn't hear anything. Time went by. Became a little disappointed. I then got a text on a Monday morning from my loving buddy, Ralph Braden, Vic's loving brother. And he told me what had happened. All I could say was, oh no. I wanted Vic honored with Vic there. My next phone call was to my contact. I left a message. I waited, didn't hear back. The following morning, early, phone rang. It was my contact, apologizing. Jay, I need to tell you. I knew that 2 weeks ago that Vic had been awarded through the vote the honor of being the recipient of this award. And what I'm so sad about is that I had a passing in my family that didn't allow me to deal with communicating with you. I said, I understand, but it's great news. Then I made sure to communicate with Melody, and I would like to read you what I call in life now. There aren't many tennis trophies that come along anymore, but I get trophies. This is a trophy. Sherry, please read this.
This is October 20th, 2014, to Melody. Dear Mrs. Braden, our condolences once again to you and your family. Vic was an extraordinary man with many talents, but none as great as his genuine love and passion for tennis. From being a successful coach, who he had natural talent to make people love our great game, to being the game's foremost scientist of the sport with all the research he did over the years. Since 2005, the BNP Paribas Open has awarded an individual the Alan King Tennis Passion Award, which is given in Alan's memory. Past recipients have included Andre Agassi, Rod Laver, Billie Jean King, Jack Kramer, Tracy Austin, Sam Smith, Roy Emerson, Bud Collins, and Tony Traber. We would like to honor Vic posthumously with the 2015 Alan King Tennis Passion Award, and we invite you to accept on his behalf during the event. Throughout Vic's career, he shared his passion for the game as a player, teacher, author, and founder of tennis colleges in Florida, Utah, and California. Vic has touched the lives of so many people with his love for tennis, making him an excellent recipient for the Alan King Tennis Passion Award. We would be honored for you to accept this award on his behalf. Best regards, Steve Simon, Tournament Director.
That's my trophy. One thing, I'd like to add to this. There's no question that the names that were read deserve the award. But we didn't have a teacher of the game of tennis in those names. We will now have one of our own, Vic Braden. With that, let's visualize this. This is a place that you people may be careful to walk on. Earlier, the tennis teaching professionals and people that have given their life to teach our wonderful passion that we have rose. Many were students of Vic's. I was. His brother Ralph stood as well. By the way, Ralph was as far as I can remember, the first president of the United States Professional Tennis Association in Southern California. Also an avid lover of tennis. Because this loving man that we know is now going to receive this award, he will now honor all of you, and you, as teachers, will honor him. If you were here right now, he would be supporting you here and hip. I have one more dream, and that is that we, with your help, try to have our friend honored the highest award at the U.S. Open. If Pete Sampras were here right now, Pete would be certainly one who was so happy that he got one more shot at the U.S. Open. And if this crowd has people here that can help me, I want to rally the flag for Vic Braden in this country at the U.S. Open. Melody, may God bless you Ralphie, my friend, all his relatives. God bless St. Vic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. I think we have time for a couple of, any one of you want to come up and, you got? Kim? Yeah.
I think it was back in the 80s when Melody recommended that Vic take his pickup truck down to the muffler shop. And my brother Jose called me and said, hey, we have Vic Braden's car down here. We're going to put a muffler on it. I just graduated from Cal State Fullerton. I was playing tennis in those days a lot, and it was, you know, just an amazing thing that had happened. And of course, I wanted to come there when Vic was going to pick up the truck to be able to meet him, and unfortunately, I missed him. And then we had to wait a couple more years for another visit to occur. But he did come back again, and then a friendship began. And it was a wonderful friendship where we got to know Vic. We got to know, you know, just how much of a dreamer he was, a real dreamer, a big dreamer, a dreamer that doesn't say just why and how things work, but he also says why not, and why can't we do certain things, and why can't we move forward. He had a special connection to children. You know, when he began this Junior Tennis Ambassador program, I think he did it really to try to get kids of young ages from all walks of life to make a difference. And as he's looking at making a difference, he wanted to use everything he had. Not too long ago, he's working on a book where he reached out to all sorts of famous people that he knew. You know, Christine Brinkley, Chevy Chase, Colin Powell, and many others. And he would get kids to interview these famous people to ask them what had happened in their life that had made them great. And this was just a gift that, you know, Vic was giving kids, you know, changing their lives. You know, Vic's energy, his enthusiasm, his compassion, his desire to help, you know, was just absolutely endless and took, you know, different forms constantly. You know, he had a smile that was contagious all the time. You know, something would happen, Vic would break up the moment, you know, just with a smile. And then it'd come, you know, right after that with a story. And the stories was endless. He would talk about Muhammad Ali and how when he was with him, Muhammad didn't really understand, you know, where he was faster and why. And of course, Vic, and, you know, taping everything at 1,000 frames per minute, would be able to tell you exactly what was going on. And this just went on and on and on. As he analyzed tennis, he kept telling all folks about, you know, taking time away from the opponent, coming in and getting inside of their mind. That the real battle often is not only in the court, but it's inside your head. And I believe it's also sometimes inside the spirit as we seek to achieve more and seek to go higher. I remember a few years ago we were at Indian Wells and he was watching Rafa Nadal in his tennis toss. And he's doing the analysis, and with Andy Fitzell and others, he came up with a video doing, you know, what a difference it would make if Rafa would just lower his toss a little bit. We're fortunate to know Rafa, and we gave him a tape of that. Later we learned not only that he analyzed it, but he actually lowered his toss about 3 or 4 years ago. And Vic was so happy to do that because it enabled him, you know, to hit the ball earlier, and not only earlier, but to hit it when it's not traveling as fast, because he also would show us a tape of some guy that would toss it up like, you know, 30 feet into the air and try to take a whack at it as it's coming down. And Vic said, you know, people just do things so wrong, but we can do them so right, and we can make such a difference. I remember he taught my son David when he was 8 years old about muscle memory and synapses firing. And he said, when a synapse fires, then you can move because you can go forward, the decision's already made. And later we were at a club and David got in a discussion with some adults and they were talking about muscle memory. He says, look, that doesn't exist. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? You're 8 years old. Well, you know, Vic Braden told me that it doesn't exist because memory's in the mind, not in the muscle. And once the synapse fires, the decision's made. And you know, just another, you know, Vic Braden tennis ambassador. And as you look at Vic and you look at life and you look at what he represented, I see this photo here on the right. And we can all imagine what he's saying right there. He's kind of saying, look, I told you so. It would just do the right stuff or think the right way or take the right step. Look at what a difference you can make. And look, there's nothing that would stop Vic. I will tell you, one time we were out there at Lathrop Elementary, and we had gotten a bunch of kids together. We were going to play tennis, and we took care to make sure we had tennis rackets and balls and everything else. And we show up, and there's no net on the tennis court. That we didn't expect. I hadn't been out there. We just didn't have a net. Well, that didn't stop us. We got a few things out there. Of course, the next time around, we not only have a net. Today we have a brand new tennis court out there. All that because of Vic Braden, but I was kind of pushed aback when I said, "Gee, what are we gonna do without a net?" Well, we still had a great session. All the kids came back. It got bigger and bigger, and it was all because of Vic. He just had magic, and that magic would never end. And it would never end because even recently I remember talking to him about UC Irvine and yet another program that he has started with medical ambassadors and talking about how tennis and exercise can help in diabetes and a better life and how we can make a difference in everybody's life. And I believe that's what Dick did for us. And I know that for all of us it's been a blessing. But especially folks like Melody and Kory and Kaitlin and others that had a chance to really be close to Vic. He was just a blessing. He was a blessing on this planet. He left us too early, but he left us so much. And I believe he blessed many of us by allowing us to carry his bag. He had a ton of stuff in that bag. Not just the camera. He had other stuff that he had just taken, and it was heavy. But I always tell Miguelito, come on, let's help him. We have to help him carry the bag. And I'm telling you, it was not only an honor and a pleasure to carry that bag, but to hear all the wisdom and all the thoughts and all the energy and all the positive that came from Vic. And as we hear of him not taking any days off, I don't think any of us can take any days off. As long as we can serve others, as long as we can make a difference, no matter what the medium be, whether we can help them just by giving them something, whether it's a smile or an effort or some good advice or a good thought. That's what Vic always did. He always gave. He always gave. And I believe he gave us the gift of knowing him and of being blessed by his presence. So as we're here celebrating Vic, we should all be just so grateful that we had a chance to be blessed by his presence. Thank you very much.
Well, it is indeed an honor to be here today. I have to start by doing something that I'm surprised no one else has done, because I know Vic would have done it, which is to take a picture of you. So I'm going to just do that, because I think this is a view that he would like to see, and if I can, I'm going to email this one right up top to have it. So, yeah, there's the picture. You look great, by the way. My name's Ken Solomon. I'm the CEO of the Tennis Channel. And I speak to you not only as the CEO of the Tennis Channel, but as somebody who grew up in the tennis world, but probably never imagined that I'd be on this court, because I know what this court meant. And I have to tell you that I think that if timing had been a little different, Vic Braden probably would have founded the Tennis Channel. In many ways, much of what we're lucky enough to do is what he had been doing and has been doing his whole life, which is to bring the universal themes of tennis together to all people to make the world a better place. And he did it through film, and he did it through television, and he did it through commentating. And today we do that to 90 million people a day. And that is the kind of dream that he had. And he did something that we aspire to do at our place, which is to use tennis as the tonic to help people, to help everyone. He understood those universal themes,
he inspired people through those themes, and he made them accessible to everybody. He broke down the walls, and you all know that very, very well. He democratized the concepts that are behind this game. And, you know, to me, he was the Renaissance man, because he took the greatest thinkers in science and technology and film, and he tried to bring everybody together to make the sport better, and then to use the sport to make us better. But he did it with fun, and he did it with humility, and he did it with accessibility. And if you were trying to craft a manifesto as to how to build a channel that talks to people on an intimate basis every day, I think that's what it would be. And it really comes from him. I have to tell you that this is not only a professional thing, though, this is a personal thing. I grew up in a tennis family, and I was not by any means the best. I couldn't even imagine being on this court as a kid, and so it's really interesting to be here today. But for me, both as someone who was in tennis, but also not inside it at the levels of many of you and the people that have spoken today, I can tell you that for me personally, Vic was inseparable from the game. Growing up in this world, there are millions and millions of people out there who can't distinguish between him and his presence on the air and his teachings and what he did from the game itself. And, you know, we say he was a great teacher. He wasn't, to me, a great teacher. He was the teacher. He was the icon. And that matters particularly in this sport, as all of you know, because it's a participatory sport. And people don't run out and go play football very often after they watch a football game, right? But you get inspired when you see Vic Braden on television or after a great match to want to go out and do it. And he was it. He was the one. If they are to have a Mount Rushmore of tennis instructors and teachers, I don't know how they're going to go beyond one, but the first head that they're going to carve in that mountain, that first face, is going to be Vic Braden, and he's going to be smiling just like that. I think we all know it. So I want to thank all of you for having us, but most importantly, on behalf of all of us at Tennis Channel, on behalf of me, I want to thank Vic for all that he has done in laying the groundwork with what we try to deliver a little bit every day. So thank you very much.
A couple of announcements. Everybody is invited to join us for local donuts, and we really do have them up there with drinks. And Pam wants you to know that the shuttle is now going to go till 5:15. We apologize for the length, but people feel very passionate about Vic, and we have 3 more people who are just going to say a word. I don't know what they're going to do to top St. Vic on Mount Rushmore. Well, let's try.
Hi, everybody. My name's Roy Trafalski. I run the only program of its kind in the world. We teach life's lessons to deaf kids through tennis. We were honored to have Vic Braden on our advisory board. I met Vic about 11 years ago through a warm invitation by the Kramer Club's Dr. Berkeley Eichel. Thanks, Burke. I think he may have taken off. Through the warm introduction, I had heard Vic was a pioneer and hoped he'd have interest in our program. So we set up a meeting at the Mission Hills Country Club for 20 minutes, one-on-one. Anybody that knows Vic's schedule, that was a major coup. So I showed up, and he was finishing up a clinic, and he was telling old tennis stories to his new disciples. Surprise, surprise, huh? And this group were between 30 and 70 years old, and he had them in the palm of his hand. And as a tennis nut, he had me mesmerized within a few minutes as well. It was the master, guru, entertainer, and psychologist at work. So I begin after he dismissed his class of disciples. I begin telling him about our program, about our idea, why tennis is perfect for a deaf kid. There's no bells, there's no whistles. The deaf kid's plight. 3/4 of their parents don't know sign language. They're so isolated. And our credentials. And the co-founder and I, Tom Baxted, is here with me. He was formerly the #1 deaf player in the country. He has his master's. Pretty amazing when only 1% of the deaf population graduates from college. So as I'm telling Vic this story, I could see his wheels were spinning. And I'm thinking, I'm guessing, I'm hoping he has interest. So the first thing he says to me in typical Vic Braden fashion, he says, "That's interesting. I experimented with a tennis program for blind kids." Blind kids, I'm thinking. I thought we had a pretty unique story. So then he starts telling me how they mapped out this hitting zone, and as he would toss balls to them, he would shout out a number where they would hit. Now I'm thinking myself, this guy's not a pioneer, he's a miracle worker. And if he starts walking on water, I'm going to start going back to church. So 2 hours later, we hit it off, and he said he was willing to help. And Brad, you can confirm this. He said to me, "Roy, you've got a pretty interesting idea, and I'm going to say the same thing to you that I said to Brad." Brad came to me a number of years ago with this idea about a tournament for 8 wheelchair players. And I said to Brad, "Why not 128? Is that true? Yeah. So it didn't matter to Vic whether we were part of the tennis establishment. He never asked what's in it for me. That's not what our sport teaches. What mattered to him was that our kids were underserved and we had a program that could help them. He envisioned our impact and the results that we could affect. And that's what our sport teaches: acceptance, inclusion, helping others. And in line with his tennis ambassadors program that was soon to come, he also shed light on the fact that we could affect obesity and diabetes. Now let me step back to the master psychologist. I'm not sure how long he's had this shtick in place, but he was master at keeping all people of all ages at ease. Maybe some of you early disciples can confirm. On the other side of the age spectrum, I've witnessed his interaction with a shy 4-year-old who, upon being asked, "What's your name?" And the little girl would then bury her face in her mom's shoulder or hide behind her skirt. And Vic would then say, "Your name is Chocolate Cake?" And the little kid would say, "My name's not Chocolate Cake, it's Kaylee." And their friendship was born. Well, for those of you who had the distinction of being called Chocolate Cake, consider that you were touched by a legend. I'm certain he had the same impact at putting inner city kids at ease from Santa Ana and Anaheim in his tennis ambassadors program. And God willing, that program will survive. Personally, I think Vic should be in the Tennis Hall of Fame. And if there was such a thing, I'd nominate him for the Human Being Hall of Fame. Thanks, Vic.
I promise I will keep this brief. I had to come up here today. I represent a group who hasn't been spoken for. Back in the mid-50s, Vic was one of the 6th grade teachers at Topanga Elementary School. Topanga is a little community up in the Santa Monica Mountains. And in 1956, I was in his 6th grade class. And I have tried
over the years to explain to people what that meant, what this man meant to us little kids. And the words escape me, but the stories explain it. Sitting there as an 11-year-old kid and realizing this man isn't just teaching you subjects, he's preparing you for life. He's teaching you life lessons. And the one story I'll tell very quickly, one of the kids in our class, his name was Alan, and he had lost an eye. He had an artificial eye. And he was one of my closest friends, and he was a really good little baseball player. So one day, Vic takes us up to the field, and he has a patch that we have to put over our eye. And he says, all right, I want you to go out there and catch a fly ball. So I'm out there and I got the patch on my eye, and when you don't have your two eyes, you lose depth perception. So he hits this ball, and I'm watching it's a hard ball, baseball. And as it reaches its apex, and it's starting to come down, I turned and ran as fast as I could from wherever that ball was going to land because I couldn't judge it. And I remember one of the other kids, now some of us, we knew that we were the next gift to Major League Baseball. One of the other kids was determined he was going to catch the ball, and he ended up with a knot on his forehead. And I thought about that over time, and why couldn't Vic had just told us, we need to feel for Alan, we need to think about what he deals with, and rather than feel sorry for him, I respected Alan like I never had before, because through that experience I realized what he had gone through to become a good little ball player. And I could tell you story after story about the lessons that Vic taught us. They were amazing, and I did the math. Vic was 27 years old when he was our teacher. When I was 27, I could hardly find my way to work. And here's this man teaching us the depth of character. That was a character trait that he was teaching us. Last thing I'll say is that in 2009, Vic and I were having lunch. I always felt like I was one of his favorites, and I'll bet you every student that was in his class thought that. And somehow the word reunion came up. And in 2010, we had a reunion, and over 50 of his 6th grade students showed up at that reunion at Topanga Elementary School. For me, that was 54 years after being in his class. And it was an amazing time. And lastly, I'll just say I will never, ever be able to be thankful enough for having been Vic Braden as a teacher and as a mentor in my life. Thank you.
See if I can do this, Molly. I'll be quick as well, because like Jay, I'm a pretty emotional guy. I think Vic's spirit is here, alive and well, in all of you. And today I was on filming duty back there, and I swear I could feel Vic standing next to me with his little spirit camera, and just probably filming everybody's faces and with a big smile on his face, capturing every moment. But my name is Andy Fitzell. When my parents were artists, they would call it heavenly choreography. And I think it was heavenly choreography that led me to the Vic Braden Tennis College as a 13-year-old boy, where Vic put me on a work scholarship to work off my lessons. I remember scraping pine needles and trying to organize this film room, which was daunting. But there, I started to learn a work ethic that Vic had, an insatiable work ethic, and to learn fundamentals that stand the test of time, that were based on physical laws and the dimensions of the court, on facts, not on opinions or theories. I've had the chance over the last 10 years to really be his shadow, to follow him pretty much wherever he's gone, and what a blessing, what an education. But of all the time we spent together, probably the most amazing quality in Vic was he just had this pure desire to just serve and to help others. And I was thinking about that last night, and the words of an ancient prophet and king. Who once said, if you're in the service of your fellow beings, you're only in the service of your God. And I believe those words to be true. And I think whether Vic knew it or not, he was one of God's greatest missionaries here on earth, spreading his gospel of tennis truth. And in so doing, blessed the lives of thousands upon thousands of people through the wonderful game of tennis. What a blessing. And I just want to publicly thank Vic for everything that he taught me, the education in tennis, my income. But I just want to say thank you, Vic, and I do miss you, and I love you, and I'll always try to honor you. Vic always made you feel good, and whenever I was around him, he always made me want to be a better person. And I will see you again, Vic. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank all the speakers who spoke on about their experiences with my pop. You really brought his spirit here. He was here with us. He's always here with us. But you really put to words, I think, everything that we've all been feeling. And the spirit of the poem, I think, will live on through all of us. We can shed tears that he is gone, but we can really smile because he lived, and he lived in each and every one of us. So on behalf of my mom, Pop's beautiful wife of 43 years, our entire blended family, we really want to thank you for sharing this day with us. Your love and support has really gotten us through. The days after Pop passed away, so many said, may he rest in peace. Well, we all know that Pop never rested. And I think Jay has touched on it with Pop being a saint. But we all knew that Dad already had all the saints lined up working on their low backhand volley. I want to welcome Maffei to the stage. And she's going to sing one of Pop's favorite songs. And if the spirit moves you, please join her.
Sorry. I just wanted to say that several years ago, I had the pleasure and the joy of being one of Vic's students at the Vic Braden tennis camp in Coto de Caza. And we've seen Vic and Melody at the Queen of Hearts tournament each year that he comes, and it's just a joy. And I'm honored today to sing this hymn. And I ask if you would like to join me, just please feel free to do it. It's Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
'Twas grace that brought my heart to fear, and grace my heart relieved. How precious is that grace appeared, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first